The year was 2035 when the Valerian ships appeared in Earth's sky. At first, people panicked. News channels showed the strange, oval ships hovering over major cities. But no attack came. Instead, a message reached every computer and phone on the planet. We come in peace. 3 days later, Jack Miller stood in NASA headquarters, trying not to fidget in his formal uniform. As one of the top astronauts in the program, he had been chosen to meet the aliens face to face. Next to him, Dr. Susan Green checked her tablet one more time, reviewing everything they knew about the Valerians so far. Nervous? Jack asked. Susan looked up and smiled. Wouldn't you be? We're about to meet beings from another star system. Before Jack could answer, the door opened. Their boss, Director Allen, walked in with 2 Secret Service agents. They're ready for us. The meeting will happen on their space station. Remember your training. The shuttle ride to the Valerian station took 4 hours. Jack spent most of it looking out the window at the alien ship. It was beautiful in a strange way, with a pearly surface that seemed to shift colors as they approached. When they docked, Jack felt his stomach flip as the artificial gravity adjusted. It felt lighter, more like walking on the moon than Earth. They've set the gravity to match their homeworld, Susan whispered. About 0.4 of what we're used to. The airlock hissed open. Jack took a deep breath and stepped through. The aliens waiting for them looked almost human, but wrong in subtle ways. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, with thin limbs and large oval heads. Their skin was pale blue, and they had 4 fingers on each hand instead of 5. They wore flowing robes that seemed to float in the low gravity. "Welcome," said the tallest one in perfect English. "I am Zilnath, ambassador of the Valerian Alliance. We are pleased to finally meet our neighbors." Jack stepped forward carefully, trying not to bounce in the low gravity. "I'm Jack Miller, representing NASA and the United States. This is Dr. Susan Green, our chief xenobiologist." Zilnath bowed slightly. His movements were graceful, like a dancer. "Please, follow me to the conference room." As they walked, Jack noticed how easily the Valerians moved. Their bodies seemed made for this environment. In contrast, he and Susan had to concentrate on each step to avoid jumping too high. The conference room had a large oval table. On the walls, screens showed images of Earth and another planet that must be the Valerian homeworld. Jack noticed that the chairs on the human side were much sturdier than the delicate seats the Valerians used. "We have studied your world for some time," Zilnath said as they sat down. "It is unusual in our experience. Very few intelligent species evolve on such heavy worlds." Susan leaned forward. "You find our gravity high." A smaller Valerian with markings on his robe spoke up. "Your world has more than double the gravity of our home. It shapes everything about your physiology. You are compact, dense creatures." Jack wasn't sure, but he thought he heard a note of dismissal in the alien's voice. Zilnath touched a control, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed the solar system and another star system about 12 light years away. "We have been exploring this region of space for 3 centuries. Your radio signals reached us 50 years ago." The meeting continued for hours. The Valerians asked questions about Earth's governments, technology, and military capabilities. Jack noticed they seemed particularly interested in human physical limitations. As they prepared to return to Earth, Zilnath presented them with a small device, a gift. "This contains basic information about our civilization and language." Jack accepted it carefully. "Thank you. We look forward to learning more about your people." As they boarded their shuttle, Susan whispered to Jack, "Did you notice how they kept asking about our strength and endurance?" Jack nodded. "They think we're weak because we come from a high-gravity world." Susan smiled. "They have no idea what humans can do." On the ride back to Earth, Jack looked at the alien device in his hand and wondered what the future would bring. First contact had gone well, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the Valerians were underestimating humanity, and in his experience, That was always a dangerous mistake. 6 months after first contact, Colonel Frank Winters stood at attention in the White House briefing room. Around him sat the president, military leaders, and scientists who had been working with the Valerians. The room was tense as they discussed the latest development. "They've invited us to visit their homeworld," the president said. "This is unprecedented. No human has ever set foot on an alien planet." Frank looked at the hologram floating above the table. It showed Villara, a beautiful world with vast oceans and twin moons. "Why me?" Frank asked. "You have extensive low-gravity training from the Mars missions," replied the NASA director. "And your military background gives you the discipline needed for this kind of mission." Diplomat Olivia Martinez sat across from Frank. She had been chosen to lead the political side of the delegation. "The Valerians insist this is a goodwill visit, but we all know there's more to it." Frank nodded. He had read the reports about how the aliens seemed to look down on humans. They tried to hide it with politeness, but it was there in the way they spoke about Earth's challenging environment and humans' remarkable adaptation to adversity. Training for the mission began the next day. Frank, Olivia, and 48 other specialists spent hours each day in reduced gravity chambers. They practiced moving, eating, and even sleeping in conditions that matched Villara's 0.4 G environment. Frank found it surprisingly difficult. His body, trained for Earth's pull, kept overcompensating. Simple tasks like pouring water became challenges as liquids behaved differently. Many team members got sick from the constant adjustment. "It's harder than it looks," said engineer Karen Phillips after falling for the 3rd time in training. "No wonder they think we're clumsy." "Let them think that," Frank replied. "There's advantage in being underestimated." A month before departure, a Valerian named Tevelar arrived to help with final preparations. He was younger than the other aliens they had met, with skin that was almost white rather than blue. "I will serve as your cultural guide," Tevelar explained during their first meeting. "Villara is very different from Earth. There are customs you must understand." Frank noticed how Tevelar watched them during training exercises, recording their performance with a small device. When asked about it, the alien claimed it was to help design better accommodations on Villara. The night before launch, Frank couldn't sleep. He stood looking out the window at the massive ship that would take them to Villara. The U.S. Horizon was the largest spacecraft ever built by humans, a joint project between nations who had put aside their differences after first contact. Worried, Olivia's voice came from behind him. Frank turned. "Just thinking. Why are they so interested in having us visit? We have nothing they need. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." Olivia joined him at the window. "Maybe they're genuinely curious, or maybe they want to show off, or maybe they want to study us up close," Frank said quietly. The next morning, 50 humans boarded the Horizon. Besides the diplomatic team, there were scientists, doctors, military personnel, and engineers. Each had been chosen for their skills and ability to adapt. Tevelar joined them in the command center as the engines fired up. "My people are eager to welcome you," he said. "This journey will make history." As Earth shrank behind them, Frank felt a strange mix of pride and unease. They were ambassadors for all humanity, heading into the unknown. What he didn't see was Tevelar sending a private message back to Villara. "Human delegation underway. Physical capabilities as reported. They struggle significantly with gravity adjustment. Military assessment to follow." The message reached Velaran Military Command, where Admiral Drazkor viewed it with satisfaction. "Excellent," he said to his officers. "Let them come see our world. Let them feel how weak they truly are compared to us." The journey to Villara would take 3 weeks. 3 weeks for the humans to prepare, unaware that they were being evaluated as potential rivals rather than welcomed as friends. The U.S. Horizon entered Velaran orbit after 3 weeks of space travel. From the viewing deck, the human delegation stared in wonder at the alien world below. Villara was beautiful, with purple oceans and landmasses covered in silver-blue vegetation. "It's time," Frank said to his team. Remember your training. Move slowly and deliberately. The landing craft descended through pink clouds to the Velaran capital city. Thousands of aliens had gathered to see the first humans to visit their world. Tall, graceful buildings made of crystal-like material surrounded the landing pad. As the doors opened, Frank took a deep breath and stepped out. The low gravity hit him immediately. Despite all his training, he felt like he might float away. He carefully placed one foot in front of the other, fighting the urge to bounce. Olivia followed, along with the rest of the team. Many smiled nervously as they adjusted to the strange feeling. A group of Valerians waited at the bottom of the ramp. Zilnath, the ambassador they had met on Earth, stood at the front. "Welcome to Velara," Zilnath said. "We are honored by your presence." Frank noticed the Valerians watching closely as the humans moved. He saw a few exchange glances when Karen stumbled slightly on the last step. "Thank you for your hospitality," Olivia replied. "We bring greetings from Earth." The welcoming ceremony was held in a massive hall with a ceiling that seemed impossibly high. Human scientists later measured it at over 200 feet tall. On Earth, such a structure would require massive support, but Velara's low gravity made it possible. During the ceremony, Ben Harper, a military officer, accidentally picked up a ceremonial object from a pedestal. The ancient artifact, which usually took 3 Valerians to lift, came up easily in his hands. Ben's eyes widened in shock as the object cracked under his grip. "I'm so sorry," Ben stammered, trying to place the broken pieces back. The Valerian officials stared in shock. Whispers spread through the crowd. "Do not worry," Zilnath said, but his voice had a new edge to it. "We understand you are not used to our world." Later that day, the humans were shown to their quarters in a special building constructed for them. The furniture was reinforced, unlike the delicate pieces used by Valerians. "Did you see their faces when Ben broke that thing?" Karen whispered to Frank. "They didn't expect us to be so strong." Frank nodded. "They've been studying us, but they don't understand what growing up in Earth's gravity does to a human body." The next morning, the humans toured the city. They tried to be careful, but their strength caused problems. Doors designed for Valerians opened too easily. Chairs creaked under their weight. Even a simple handshake had to be extremely gentle to avoid hurting their hosts. The situation changed dramatically that afternoon. During the tour of a science facility, a supporting beam collapsed, trapping several Valerians. Without thinking, Karen rushed forward and lifted the heavy beam, allowing the aliens to escape. The Valerians watched in stunned silence as this small human woman moved something that would normally require machinery on their world. "How did you do that?" a Valerian scientist asked Karen afterward. She shrugged. "It wasn't that heavy. On Earth, I lift weights heavier than that every day." News of the incident spread quickly. That evening, Tevlar reported to his superiors. "The humans are much stronger than we anticipated," he said. "Their muscles, developed under high gravity, give them incredible physical power here." Admiral Drazkor frowned at the report. "This changes our assessment. Begin detailed scans of their physiology. I want to know exactly what they're capable of." As the humans slept that night, Valerian scientists quietly activated hidden sensors in their quarters. On screens throughout the facility, data about human bone density, muscle mass, and metabolic rates appeared. "Remarkable," one scientist said. "Their bodies are like living machines compared to ours." Drazkor studied the information with growing concern. "These are not the weak creatures we expected. They could be more dangerous than we thought." A week after the humans arrived on Velara, tensions began to rise. Videos of Karen lifting the heavy beam had spread across Valerian social media. Some Valerians were fascinated by human strength. Others were frightened. In a secure meeting room deep beneath the capital city, Admiral Drazkor addressed the Valerian Defense Council. "These humans are dangerous," he said, pointing to a screen showing Ben and Frank exercising in the human quarters. They were lifting weights that would require mechanical assistance for Valerians. They evolved on a world with crushing gravity. Here on Villara, they have physical abilities that seem almost supernatural. An older council member raised a thin hand. But they have been peaceful. They came at our invitation. Trazkor's eyes narrowed. For now. But what happens when they realize their advantage? Their history is full of wars and conquest. We must act before they do. Meanwhile, the human delegation noticed changes in how they were treated. Their Valerian guides became more distant. Security around them increased. Something's wrong, Olivia told Frank as they walked through a garden designed for the human visitors. The plants were Earth species that had been grown from seeds the Valerians had somehow obtained years earlier. Frank nodded. I've noticed, ever since Karen's rescue, they've been watching us differently. Like they're afraid. Should we talk to Zilnath about it? Olivia asked. Not yet. Let's gather more information first. That afternoon, the Valerians announced a special event, a friendly athletic competition between the two species. The humans were suspicious but agreed to participate. The competition was held in a large arena. Thousands of Valerians came to watch. The events included running, jumping, throwing, and tests of fine motor control. The results surprised no one. Humans dominated the strength events. Frank threw a Valerian javelin so far it nearly left the arena. Karen jumped 3 times higher than her Valerian competitor. Even the smallest human could lift weights that the strongest Valerian struggled with. But the Valerians won every event that required precision or speed. Their thin fingers could manipulate tiny objects with incredible accuracy. They could run faster than humans in the low gravity because they had evolved to move efficiently in it. We each have our advantages, Zilnath announced at the end. This is why exchange between our worlds is valuable. But Frank noticed how military officers in the audience watched the human performances with hard eyes. That night, Amy Peterson, a nurse on the human medical team, made a disturbing discovery. She had been analyzing the water and food provided to the humans and found unusual compounds. They're scanning us, she told Frank and Olivia in a whisper. These compounds show up on certain types of medical imaging. They've been putting them in our food to make our internal organs more visible to their scanners. Frank's face darkened. They've been studying us without consent. This goes against our agreement. The next morning, Frank requested a meeting with Zilnath. The ambassador agreed but seemed uncomfortable. We've discovered you've been scanning us secretly, Frank said directly. This violates the trust between our peoples. Zilnath's pale blue skin flushed slightly. You misunderstand. It was for your safety. Your physiology is different from ours. We needed to ensure our environment wouldn't harm you. Frank didn't believe him. Then why wasn't this discussed openly? Before Zilnath could answer, a message came through on his communication device. His expression changed as he read it. I must attend to an urgent matter, he said, standing abruptly. We will continue this discussion later. As the humans returned to their quarters, they saw increased military presence throughout the city. I don't like this, Olivia said quietly. Something's happening. What they didn't know was that the Valerian Defense Council had just voted on a resolution about the human situation. Led by Admiral Drazkor, they had decided that humans posed too great a risk to be allowed free access to Valoran technology and society. The order had been given. End the cultural exchange immediately. The next morning, Zilnath called a meeting with the entire human delegation. His usual friendly manner was gone, replaced by cold formality. Due to unexpected developments, your visit must end immediately, he announced. We will prepare your ship for departure within 3 days. Frank stepped forward. What developments? We came in peace and have followed all your rules. That is not open for discussion, Zilnath replied. Until your departure, please remain in your assigned quarters for your safety. As the humans left the meeting, they noticed armed Valerian guards following them. Back in their building, they found more guards at every exit. We're not guests anymore. We're prisoners, Olivia said, looking out the window at the guards below. Frank gathered the team leaders in his room. Something has spooked them. I think they see us as a threat now. Because we're stronger than they expected, asked Ben. Exactly, Frank replied. On their world, we have physical abilities they can't match. They're afraid of what that means. Greg Simmons, the security officer, spoke up. We need to contact Earth, warn them something's wrong. They're blocking all our communications, said Michelle Lee, their communications specialist. I've tried every channel. Nothing gets through. That night, as most of the humans slept, Greg and Michelle sneaked into the building's control room. They had noticed that the Valerians used similar systems throughout the city and had studied them during tours. If I can access their network, maybe I can send a message to Earth, Michelle whispered as she worked on the control panel. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Red lights flashed in the hallway. They know we're here, Greg said. We need to move. They ran back toward their rooms, but found the hallway blocked by armed guards. They ducked into a service corridor instead. Now what? Michelle asked. We find another way out. Using the building's maintenance tunnels, they managed to escape into the city. The strange silver-blue plants and crystalline buildings that had seemed so beautiful now felt alien and threatening. They hid behind a low wall as a patrol passed. We need to find their communication center, Greg said. It must be in the government district. Michelle nodded. But first we need to know what they're planning. Something made them turn against us so quickly. They moved carefully through the city, using the human strength to climb walls and jump distances that Valerians couldn't. Finally, they'd reached the central government building. Using a maintenance entrance, they slipped inside. They followed the sound of voices to a large meeting room. Through a vent, they could see Admiral Drazkor addressing a group of military officers. A holographic display showed Earth. The human planet is a threat we cannot ignore, Drazkor was saying. Their physical capabilities make them dangerous. If they ever decide to expand beyond their world, our civilization would be at risk. An officer spoke up. But their technology is primitive compared to ours. For now, Drazkor replied. But they learn quickly. We've seen how fast they adapt. The safest course is to act now, while we have the advantage. Michelle and Gray exchanged horrified looks as they realized what they were hearing. They're planning to attack Earth, Michelle whispered. The plan became clear as they listened. The Valerians would hold the human delegation as prisoners while launching a surprise attack on Earth. With their advanced technology, they believed they could quickly conquer humanity before any defense could be organized. We have to warn Earth, Greg said, and we need to help the others escape. As they crept away from the meeting room, they almost ran into Tevlar. They froze, expecting him to sound the alarm. Instead, Tevlar pulled them into an empty room. I've been looking for you, he said quietly. What they're doing is wrong. The Council is making a mistake based on fear. Greg studied the Valerian's face. Why should we trust you? Because I believe in honest exchange between our peoples, not conquest, Tevlar replied. And I can help you contact your world. Tevlar led Greg and Michelle through hidden passages in the government building. They reached a small room filled with communication equipment. This is a private channel, Tevlar explained. It's not monitored by military security. You can send a message to Earth from here. Michelle immediately got to work. Her fingers flew across the alien controls as Tevlar guided her. Warning. Valerian attack imminent. Human delegation held prisoner. Prepare defenses, she typed. She added details about Valerian ships and weapons that Greg had seen in the military meeting. Message sent, she said finally. I hope it's in time. Now we need to help the others, Greg said. Tevlar nodded. I have friends who disagree with Drazkor's plans. We can create a distraction while you free your people. Back on Earth, the message caused immediate alarm. World leaders gathered in emergency sessions. Military forces went on high alert. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock to prepare defenses based on what they knew about Valerian technology. General Diane Torres, head of Earth's new Space Defense Force, oversaw the preparations. Their advantage is technology, she told her officers. Our advantage is that they don't understand what they're getting into. They've never fought in Earth's gravity. 3 days later, the Valerian fleet arrived in Earth's orbit. 50 ships, each larger than anything humans had built, positioned themselves around the planet. Admiral Drazkor sent a message demanding Earth's immediate surrender. Your delegation remains in our custody, he said. Submit to Valerian authority, and they will be returned safely. Earth's response was simple. We do not surrender. The Valerian ships launched their first attack, targeting military bases with energy weapons. The damage was severe, but not as bad as expected. Earth's scientists had developed shields based on information from the human delegation's earlier reports. Then came the ground invasion. Thousands of Valerian soldiers in mechanical combat suits landed outside major cities. They expected an easy victory with their advanced weapons. What they got was disaster. The moment the Valerian troops stepped out of their ships, Earth's gravity hit them like a physical blow. Many collapsed immediately. Others struggled to move in their heavy combat suits, which had been designed for Valara's gentle pull, not Earth's crushing grip. Even with mechanical assistance, the Valerians could barely lift their weapons. Each step was agony for soldiers whose bones had developed in low gravity. Their combat suits, unable to compensate for the unexpected strain, began to fail. Joints broke. Power systems overloaded. General Torres watched drone footage of Valerian soldiers struggling to stand. They never tested their equipment in our gravity, she said. This is what happens when you underestimate your enemy. Earth's forces counterattacked. Soldiers who had lived their entire lives under Earth's pull moved with ease where Valerians struggled. The alien invasion stalled, then collapsed. In orbit, Admiral Drazkor received desperate messages from his ground forces. Cannot advance. Gravity too strong. Suits failing. Impossible, he muttered. They are a primitive species. How can they resist us? A junior officer spoke up. Sir, we never conducted tests in Earth-like gravity. Our simulations were based on theoretical models, not practical experience. Drazkor's face darkened. Prepare the second wave. We will not be defeated by these heavy whirlers. But the second wave fared no better than the first. Valerian soldiers, bred and raised in gentle gravity, found themselves practically immobilized on Earth's surface. Their bodies simply couldn't function. By nightfall, Earth forces had captured hundreds of Valerian soldiers. Most were suffering from fractured bones and torn muscles just from trying to move in Earth's gravity. As reports of the disaster reached the Valerian fleet, Admiral Drazkor faced a terrible reality. His invasion plan, based on technological superiority, had overlooked a fundamental fact. The Valerians' physical biology made them utterly unsuited for combat on Earth. On Valara, the human captives had no idea what was happening, but they were about to mount their own counterattack, with help from an unexpected ally. On Valara, Tedlar rushed into the room where he had left Greg and Michelle. His blue face was pale with worry. The attack on Earth has failed, he said. Your people were ready. Our soldiers couldn't function in your gravity. Greg couldn't hide his smile. Earth is safe. For now. But Admiral Drazkor is planning a second attack with modified weapons. We must free your friends and stop this war before it goes further. With Tedlar's help, they created a plan. That night, as most of the guards were distracted by news from Earth, they made their move. Michelle used the communication system to cause a false alarm on the opposite side of the city. As guards rushed to respond, Greg, Michelle, and Tedlar headed to the building where the humans were held. Frank was organizing an escape attempt when they arrived. The humans had been using their Earth-developed strength to slowly break through the reinforced walls of their prison. They had already made a hole large enough for a person to squeeze through. Perfect timing, Frank said when he saw Greg. We were just about to leave. With all the humans together again, plus Tevlar and a small group of Valerians who opposed the war, they headed for the spaceport. Their goal was to reach the U.S. horizon and return to Earth. Draskor's forces will try to stop us, Tevlar warned. The military still controls the main government buildings and the spaceport. We have the advantage of surprise, Frank replied, and strength. At the spaceport, they encountered a squad of Valerian guards. In the past, humans might have hesitated to fight, but now, knowing that Earth was under attack, they didn't hold back. The guards were no match for humans in low gravity. Frank and Ben easily tossed Valerians aside. Karen disabled 3 guards without even using a weapon. Their Earth-trained muscles made them incredibly powerful on Velara. They reached the U.S. horizon, but taking off wouldn't be easy. Valerian ships surrounded the spaceport, ready to shoot down any unauthorized launches. Olivia turned to Tevlar. "We need a distraction." The friendly Valerian nodded. "My people are already working on it." Across the city, Tevlar's allies began sabotaging key military systems. Communication networks went down, power failed in government buildings, and most importantly, the defensive shield protecting the spaceport flickered and died. The humans didn't waste the opportunity. They launched the Horizon into Velaran orbit, then set course for Earth at maximum speed. When they arrived 10 days later, they found a very different situation than they had feared. The Valerian fleet was in retreat. Earth's forces, using information from the warning message and knowledge gained from the failed first attack, had successfully defended the planet. Admiral Draskor was forced to send a message to the Valerian High Council. The humans cannot be conquered by conventional means. Their world's gravity has made them too physically powerful. Our forces cannot function effectively on their planet. 3 months later, a new peace conference was held on a neutral space station. Zilnath had been replaced as ambassador by Tevlar. Admiral Draskor had been removed from command. The Valerian High Council, finally understanding the reality of dealing with heavy worlders, was ready to negotiate honestly. "We made a mistake," Tevlar admitted to the human delegation. "We thought your evolution on a high-gravity world made you weaker. We now understand it made you stronger." The resulting treaty established new rules for interaction between the species. Humans would share their knowledge of adapting to different gravity environments. Valerians would share select technologies. Both worlds would benefit from trade and scientific exchange. Engineer Job Nelson, who had joined the second diplomatic mission, worked with Valerian scientist Kelvira to develop special suits that would allow both species to visit each other's worlds comfortably. The gravity adaptation suit became a symbol of cooperation between the two peoples. As the treaty was signed, Frank stood with Olivia and watched Earth through the station's viewing window. "Do you think they'll ever try to attack us again?" Olivia asked. Frank shook his head. "No, they learned their lesson. Sometimes being from a heavy world has its advantages." Far beyond their solar system, other alien civilizations took note. Humanity, the species from the high-gravity planet, had successfully defended itself against a technologically superior force. The galactic community suddenly had a new power to consider in their calculations. Earth's gravity had not only shaped human evolution, it had become humanity's greatest defense.